Hello, my name is Matthias, and welcome to the FPL Scope and the weekly wildcard draft for Game Week 5, where I try to select what I think is the best squad to have currently in Fantasy Premier League going forward in the next few game weeks and beyond. And as always, we're going to do it where I rank the players from 1 through 15. All the 15 players in my squad will be ranked, where number 1 player, the first player that I present to you guys, will be the player that I think is the most important player to have currently in Fantasy Premier League. And once again, that player is going to be Erling Braut Haaland, even more so this time around because the really good fixtures are coming with Burnley, Brentford and Everton in a row after the tough Arsenal game, but you still want him on a wildcard because he is going to be vital in FPL pretty damn soon. He has been pretty much already. He has been the best player in the game by far, really. He's just gotten so many chances and actually now scored so many goals as well with the 2 goals against Manchester United, which could have been so much more. So yeah, pretty simple choice. Haaland is a fantastic asset. He's been my number 1 pick all the way since Game Week 2 draft, I think. So yeah, he is someone that is definitely, the first priority to get, especially next game week in Game Week 6. You should all try to get away into getting Haaland for that game week. But Arsenal away, pretty tough match, so it's no rush to bring him in on a regular transfer, but on a wildcard, I would definitely save yourself the future transfer and just get him in already. He could score against Arsenal as well. He's done that in the past, even though that is one of the toughest game weeks or games of the season, really. Number 2, again, that is going to be Anton Semenyo. He also proved his worth this past game week, taking a penalty. He was already a number 2 pick last week before I thought he was going to be on penalties. I bought him in, thankfully, myself, and he got 13 points against Brighton, which was really nice to see, even though it wasn't really like a super standout performance because he got a pretty lucky assist and then got a penalty. But now knowing that he is on penalties when Kluivert is not on the pitch, most likely it could still be Evan Nilsson, but he won the penalty this time, so maybe he didn't want to take it. He is at least one of the few penalty takers that Bournemouth have. So yeah, he is really good for that reason. He has still like decent fixtures, not like outstanding fixtures, but he is just an outstanding player who looks absolutely amazing, super cut price, and it's just time to get on the bandwagon in general for really anyone. He is just really, really good at another level this season. So again, really simple number 2 pick. The number 1 and number 2 picks are like the easiest choice for me. Haaland and Semenyo need to be in every single draft if you're wildcarding this game week. Next up, we have João Pedro with the number 3 pick. He's also been a pretty consistent, high-placed player, high-ranked player in my weekly wildcard drafts. I've slowly but surely been more impressed by his prospective minutes and playing time and goals, more importantly. He keeps finding a way to get points. Even this past game week, he sort of got the ball headed into him, and then he still got an assist because he's always involved. He's the starting striker for Chelsea, who are looking really good, and for a really cheap price at like 7.7 million now, he's still a really good asset. So yeah, the fixtures aren't like the best, but they're not the worst either. Man United, Brighton, and Nottingham Forest are 3 games that are like kind of up in the balance. Really hard to know what to expect from those 3 teams. Man United are in a bit of disarray now with Amorim as their coach still. Brighton are just a really tough team to judge regardless. Last season they conceded like 5 goals against Chelsea. That could happen again potentially, but they also have a pretty good record against the big teams, so who knows really, but it's at home at least, so that's another plus for João Pedro and Chelsea. Then it's Liverpool in game week 7. Which is a tough fixture, and then it's Nottingham Forest away in game week 8, which could be a problem again because he's coming back from international break, but we saw now again he played 70 minutes-ish, even though he just came back from international break in a grueling fixture in Bolivia, so he seems pretty certain to play regardless because Chelsea don't really have anyone else to play up front. So yeah, João Pedro is still good playing time. He keeps getting points. He's 3rd in the penalty list, we assume, behind Palmer and Enzo. Even though that shouldn't really matter because we don't really expect him to get many penalties this season. So yeah. But anyways, João Pedro has shown to be a really good player, so he comes in at number 3. Number 4, we have Tijani Reijnders, who's made a pretty huge jump since last game week. I just think he looked so damn good against Man United. He didn't get any points, but he was like involved in everything offensively. Was in super good positions. Could have had the ball several times from Haaland and scored. Had another pass from Haaland actually that he should have scored on himself, but he missed just slightly. So he showed his worth there, and with the really good fixtures coming up and him playing 90 minutes every single game, and now City being without Marmoush and Turkey for the next like few game weeks, the prime game weeks, Reijnders is most likely going to play as a super attacking player for only 5.7. So I think he's a fantastic asset. He's been a really good asset all season. He's been in all of my weekly wildcard drafts. He was close to dropping out last time because I was a bit dismayed by his Game Week 2 and Game Week 3 performances, but now it seems like he's back to his best and playing in that position where he could potentially get a lot of FPL points. So yeah, Reijnders comes in at number 4. Number 5, we have Marcos Senesi in defense from Bournemouth. He keeps getting defense contribution points. 4 out of 4 matches now. He's reached a threshold of 10 defensive contributions and gotten 2 defensive contribution points. And Bournemouth have actually been really good defensively as well. So they did concede 1 goal against Brighton, but Senesi should get some clean sheets, should get several defensive contribution points, and could even get goals and assists as we saw against the Spurs when he got an assist there in that game. So yeah, Senesi is fantastic value at only 4.6 or 4.7, I think now. He's gone up in price a bit, but that is well worth it still because he is just a fantastic pick for a really good team in Bournemouth, who have looked really good so far this season. So yeah, Senesi number 5. Number 6, Romero from Spurs. I've sort of neglected Spurs defense a little bit too much, but now they've kept another clean sheet against Villarreal in the Champions League right before I started recording this. So they just look really impressive defensively. And even more so, Romero had a goal disallowed against West Ham. Should have really been counted because there wasn't really that much of an infraction. I can say that as a West Ham fan who doesn't really like Spurs, of course. But that should have been a goal for Romero, and he's just a really big piece threat for Spurs. And Spurs are really good at set pieces. Both Kudus and Xavi Simons taking corners from each side. They do it really, really well. Scored a couple corners right after a couple corner situations at least against West Ham. And yeah, they just really do a good job at scoring from set pieces, which makes Romero an even better prospect. He's also pretty good for defensive contribution points actually. Under Thomas Frank, Spurs have just a completely new defense where you can both count on clean sheets and defensive contribution points. So Romero is a fantastic pick, I think. And someone that I had in preseason pegged down as like a potential player to have, but I decided to go against him for some reason or another. Can't remember exactly why, but he is fantastic value at 5.0, so or 5.1 if he's gone up in price now. So he's someone, especially with the fixtures as well for Spurs now. Brighton away is not the ideal fixture to bring him in, but Wolves at home, Leeds away, Aston Villa at home, especially considering how bad Aston Villa have been in terms of goal scoring so far this season. Those 3 matches are potentially the 3 best matches in a row for clean sheets. So yeah, I'm kind of tempted to bring in Romero or someone else from the Spurs defense because they look pretty good at the moment. Number 7, we have Gabriel Magalhaes. He also looks really good at the moment. Also picked up defensive contribution points. He even reached the defensive contribution threshold for Arsenal in the Champions League against Athletic Bilbao. So he can actually get defensive contribution points in certain games, even though he hasn't historically been good at that. But what he has been good at historically is getting clean sheets and getting goals, and he can get it in any game week. Remember last season against Man City, a lot of people, including myself, benched him in that game, and then he scored. Probably should have kept the clean sheet in that game as well, because Arsenal were so much better than City in that game before they got the red card. So yeah, he is just someone that you can play every single game week. He is someone that I have in my own team. Have had him since game week 1, and I'm really happy with that decision because he is just a mainstay. I feel like he's the most likely to stay in my team. Both him and Reijnders have been in my team since game week 1, and I think both of them have a decent chance of staying the whole season just because they are really, really good players. So yeah, Gabriel, fantastic in all those regards. The next 2 fixtures aren't the best, Man City at home and Newcastle away, but like I said, Gabriel and Arsenal can keep a clean sheet against anyone, and he can score on set pieces against anyone as well, so he is kind of fixture proof. On top of that, I would not bench him in any of those fixtures for what it's worth. And then after that, Arsenal have fantastic fixtures all the way leading up to game week 13 when I'm looking to wildcard myself, but he's still going to be a good pick regardless of how you have him basically. So he's a bit expensive. That's the one downside to him. There are a lot of good value defenders this season because of the DEFCON edition, and some players like Senesi, for example, just have really good value because of that. But Gabriel is still worth it, I think, as someone that you can just trust to play in every single game all the time. So yeah, he comes in at number 7. Number 8, we have Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. At least Dewsbury-Hall, we know his name is. And he looks like just a really good asset for Everton. What was really encouraging for me last game week was the fact that he played 90 minutes. Dibbling didn't even come on. Or Everton had only 2 substitutions in that game, even though they have Alcaraz as well on the bench. Like, they have several good players in those positions, but Dewsbury-Hall just seems to be the preferred candidate in that attacking midfield position. So for 5.0, he looks amazing, especially considering how good Everton look currently. He's in really good positions, and there are 2 other really good Everton assets in Grealish and NDI, but I think the price for Dewsbury-Hall is just what entices me the most, especially with some fixtures that are like not the best, not ideal fixtures with Liverpool and Man City in the next 4. But he's someone that, with the price that he has, 5.0, you can easily just bench him. It feels worse to bench someone like NDI or Grealish at a higher price because you waste more value on your bench on players that are not going to play. But if you just waste 5 million to bench Dewsbury-Hall in some game weeks, that's not as bad really. So he's super involved. I think it's going to be the starting number 10 now for the foreseeable future as well. It doesn't feel like Dibbling is going to come in and make changes to that attacking trio behind the striker for Everton, who are working so well currently. They're creating so many chances and they look really, really good so far this season. So Dewsbury-Hall, pretty simple pick for me at number 8 as well, for a really cheap price, someone you can have in those enticing matches against West Ham, for example, and then you can bench him in those tougher matches against Man City and Liverpool. So yeah, really good value at 5.0 Dewsbury-Hall there at number 8. Number 9, we have Vicario with doubling up on the Spurs defense just because they're looking so good so far this season, and none have looked better than Vicario in my opinion. I think he's been the best goalkeeper so far this season. He's had a lot of outstanding saves, and he has been just like the last line of defense that has helped Spurs get a lot of clean sheets. And he's gotten a lot of save points as well. He's the highest scoring goalkeeper so far, and he's still he went up in price now to 5.1, but he's still a really cheap price, or like a decent price at least for a goalkeeper of that caliber, and especially with those fixtures. That's why I'm like so enamored with the Spurs defense currently, because yeah, I'm sold after 4 game weeks and a Champions League game. They just look like a much better team defensively now because they have the talent. We always knew they had the talent in Romero, Van de Ven. Jed Spence has been playing a lot on left back. Udogie is good as well. Peter Porro is more attacking, but he's also like a decent player overall, also defensively. So yeah, Spurs defense is just really solid now that they have a system that actually rewards them for playing defense and not just having a super high line that is easily exploitable. So yeah, Vicario, he is fantastic as well. He comes in at number 9. Number 10, we have Joachim Andersen, who once again got defensive contribution points this past game week, also got bonus points. So he's a really nice point getter. He has 1 or 2 really good games, honestly, with Aston Villa away. I don't really think that's the toughest fixture anymore. Just because he is starting to wonder if that's actually a home game. It might be. Maybe I need to change the graphics. I'll check that out after the video. But either way, he has 2 good fixtures. I think Brentford and Aston Villa are not the best attacking teams, and he could get some points there. After that, he has a pretty long, or like a couple games there where he doesn't have the best matches, but again, you can just bench him for that really cheap price and just bring him in whenever you need him to play. Really, you see, have already Gabriel, who can play in every game, Romero, who's really good, Senesi is really good. Like, you have a lot of good alternatives for Andersen when he's out and can play against Bournemouth and Arsenal, for example. Really tough fixtures, you can bench him, and then in the easier fixtures, you can bring him in and he can get a lot of points for you. So yeah, he comes in at number 10 despite not having the best fixtures. Number 11, we have Mohamed Salah. Still, he is still keeping his place in the team for now. I think just because he's the best captaincy option, in my opinion, against Everton. Haaland against Arsenal, that's probably the only game where I don't really trust him with the captaincy as much, because Arsenal are just that good defensively. So I think there aren't that many other good candidates for captaincy this game week, and there's honestly not that many good game week or matches in game week 5 either. You can see from most of my picks here: Dewsbury-Hall against Liverpool, Reijnders against Arsenal, Haaland against Arsenal. João Pedro against Man United away is like one of the better fixtures. Semenyo against Newcastle at home, still a tough fixture. Like, Game Week 5 is a tricky fixture for the best players to have currently in FPL, so that's why the wildcard, like I said in the video yesterday, I'm not sure if wildcard is the best for Game Week 5, but if you do wildcard, I think this is what you should go for. And still, Salah's in there mainly just for the Everton game, and then there's a lot of good midfield options from Game Week 6 onwards. You have Man United, who have better fixtures from Game Week 6 onwards. You have Foden and Man City, for example, who has really good fixtures from that point onwards. You get closer to like the really prime fixtures for Arsenal. And Esse is someone that I really like at 7.5. There's so many good candidates. Even an Everton double up you could do against West Ham. There are so many options. Palmer is another one. Like, there's a lot of good assets from Game Week 6 onwards. So you can just sell Salah in Game Week 6, have a lot of money in the bank, and have a lot of flexibility even after a wildcard. That's what I really like with Salah. He's really good for Game Week 5, I think. At home against Everton, I think he could get a good score in that game. Should probably be a high-scoring game. And I think Salah could potentially find his own in that fixture. So yeah, just like to have him just in case. Like, if he explodes and looks like the old Salah, you might want to keep him as well. So yeah, he hangs on by a thread. Probably will sell him for the next weekly wildcard drafts, but he is he's still the greatest of all time when it comes to FPL, and he deserves some respect, really. So yeah, he comes in at number 11. Number 12, we have Mateta. He also holds on to his position just because he has a better fixture in Game Week 5. I just struggled to have like a good Game Week 5 squad with this wildcard draft, and I also struggled to find like a good third striker. I'm going to talk about one of the strikers on the Cusp section, but I can already mention him. It's Gyökeres. He's also someone that is interesting, but he's also someone that you could potentially just wait for and buy in Game Week 7 after we see if he gets more minutes and stuff against Man City and Newcastle, because now he's been subbed off like right after the hour mark 2 games in a row, both in the league and in the Champions League. So maybe he's not as assured for minutes and as assured of playing 90 minutes and having penalties until the 90th minute as well. So yeah, just a bit more wait and see. With the money from Salah, you can always upgrade Mateta to someone else. Eventually, that could be Gyökeres, but it could also be Alexander Isak when he's ready to play for Liverpool. So yeah, I just like to have Mateta for that 1 game week, and then you can just bench him next game week when a lot of players have really easy fixtures, really. So yeah, Mateta comes in at number 12. Number 13, we have Dubravka, who's just a good backup goalkeeper. I really quite like him as a backup goalkeeper in general. I think he can be a spot starter at times, because Burnley have shown to be a bit better than expected now against Liverpool. I think they looked a lot better in that game. You know, they did concede quite a lot of XG towards the end of the match. So they haven't been the best for XG, but they have kept a clean sheet already. Almost kept another clean sheet against Liverpool, which would have been really, really impressive. So I think Dubravka is actually a decent spot starter. Currently, I have Sels and Dubravka myself in my own team, and there are some game weeks where Sels has really tough fixtures where I'm not opposed to playing Dubravka. I think that rotation is actually pretty good, but in this instance, he will just be a backup goalkeeper, especially with Vicario's easy matches. Maybe in this game week against Nottingham Forest at home compared to Vicario against Brighton away, you could start Dubravka, but in general, I would just start Vicario over him, and Dubravka is just the only like long-term starting 4.0 goalkeeper that we have. You also have Darlow from Leeds right now, because Lucas Perry is injured for Leeds as their starting goalkeeper, and Darlow had a really good game in Game Week 1 despite conceding really late from an own goal. But yeah, Dubravka is the long-term 4.0 starter, and that's why he's in the team, really, as always, in this weekly Wildcard Draft series. Number 14, speaking of the own goal that made Leeds concede this past game week, Gudmundsson scored a really weird and strange own goal. I guess he was just like surprised by the ball coming towards him, and he just couldn't react in time. But it was a perfect header into his own net and deleting his own clean sheet. So really sad times for anyone that had him in their team. But I think he's still a really good option for what it's worth. They do have really good matches as well, Leeds. I think they actually have the best matches in the next 6. So he is someone that you could use whenever you need him to, really. You could even go with 5 at the back for this game week, because there are so many tough fixtures with Dewsbury-Hall and Reijnders, most likely players you want to bench this game week. You could actually start 5 defenders potentially. But yeah, I quite like Gudmundsson still. Just at a really cheap price. Leeds have shown to be pretty good defensively. They did get battered by Arsenal, but I think that's going to be a common case this season, because Arsenal are just a really good team in general. So yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about that. Gudmundsson is good for a cheap price at number 14. Number 15, we have Josh King still. He was all the way up at number 8 last game week because he looked so good against against Chelsea in game week 3, and now against Leeds in game week 4, he got subbed off before the 60th minute mark, and I'm just starting to worry a little bit about around his minutes, especially with both Chukwueze and especially Kevin coming in for Fulham. They just have a lot of options there to play around with, and Smith Rowe is also getting more and more minutes away from King. So he's still in the squad just because he is a really cheap player that has started every game so far. That does account for something, but I just wouldn't trust him to start in most games currently. So yeah, Reijnders, Dewsbury-Hall, and King, you could bench all 3 really and play a 5 at the back formation in Game Week 5 if you go with this tactic. That could potentially be the best idea really for this game week. So yeah, I've had all that in mind, especially with Gudmundsson having a good fixture against Wolves. That also accounts for why he is in the team. Also, like with good fixtures across the board after that, also for the Leeds fullback, really. But yeah, King, he is still someone that has people have high hopes for this season. He could potentially blossom and get that starting position nailed on, but currently he's like someone that will be subbed off pretty early in most games, if he even starts. So that's why he's not really like an ideal candidate to start with, like have in your starting lineup, but he's an ideal candidate to just stash on your bench for the cheapest possible price and save him for a rainy day, really. Or if you need to, he can step in and get a point at least if he plays or takes part in any game. So yeah, he goes in at number 15 for 4.5, and that completes our whole 15-man squad. But as you can see, Romero, Gabriel, Gudmundsson, and Dewsbury-Hall are new since last time. They have green names, which means that they are new. And that also means that 4 players have dropped out since last time. So let's talk about those guys before we wrap up with 3 players that were close to making it but didn't make the squad this time around. So out of the 4 players that have dropped out, I think actually all 4 are still pretty good assets. It's just that I wanted to rejigger the team a little bit with some more pricey defenders this time around, with Romero and Gabriel taking up more money. And that meant that I had to downgrade from Ndiaye to Dewsbury-Hall, and also just because I think Everton are, like I mentioned with the Dewsbury-Hall setup earlier, he's just someone that you could more easily bench for a cheaper price in those tough matches against Liverpool and Man City, for example. So yeah, just prefer Dewsbury-Hall over NDI for that reason, but NDI looks super lethal. Even this past game week where he didn't get any points, he was in really good positions all the time, ready to pounce and score goals. Like, he's going to get a lot of goals this season. He's also on penalties, so he is a really, really good asset, but it's just he's a victim of me just trying to save money elsewhere. But next game week, maybe he's back with Salah probably out of the team. You'll have more money to spend on other positions, and that means Ndiaye could be back already next game week for the weekly Wildcard draft, but for now he's out. Chris Richards for Palace. He actually scored for Palace in the League Cup, also scored in the penalty shootout where Palace went through. So that is he scored the second penalty for Palace, so maybe he's going to be on penalties if Mateta doesn't take them. That would be really interesting if that's the case. But either way, with or without penalties, I don't think he's going to get many this season anyways. But yeah, he's dropped out really just because the tough fixtures are coming now after the West Ham away game, which I think is also like semi-tough. Like, West Ham have enough firepower offensively to potentially score in that game. Then after that, it's Liverpool, Everton away, and then Bournemouth at home as well. So after that, he has Arsenal, I think, in the fixture after that. So really tough matches for Richards. That's why I've dropped him out of the team. I just prefer some of the other candidates this time around. Juf for West Ham, he looked really good in Game Week 3, and now in Game Week 4, he kind of disappointed, or West Ham in general disappointed, I guess. Didn't look that good against Spurs after going out to 10 men especially. So Juf is another player that is decent value, especially at 4.4 now. He's even cheaper than he was previously. He is super attacking and could potentially get some clean sheets at some points with West Ham, but for now I just prefer other candidates, whether they're more expensive or cheaper or just the same price and have better defcon potential. Tosin Adebayo has actually pretty good defcon potential, got 9 defense contributions last game, so was really unlucky not to get more defense contribution points. But he's also just dropped out just because I prefer other candidates really in defense this time around. But he's still a really good pick. I think he's going to play most matches still, even though there was some rotation for Chelsea this past game week, which makes me a bit more uncertain if he's going to be like nailed to play every single game. But he is still someone that's going to play most games for Chelsea. And he's going to get some clean sheets here and there because Chelsea are a good defensive team. So he's still someone that I would consider, but he just dropped out because I couldn't afford him really, since I wanted Romero and Gabriel and I didn't have more in the bank than just getting Gudmundsson really as the 14th pick. So yeah, those are all the players that are dropped out since last time. Let's talk about the 3 players that were on the cusp that didn't make the squad but were close to before we wrap up the video basically. First and foremost, we have a defender in Tarkowski. He is a bit more pricey at 5.5, and they do have Liverpool and Man City in the next 4 fixtures. But I think from Game Week 6 onwards, West Ham onwards, they do have some nice fixtures. Crystal Palace is a better fixture for a defender than an attacker, and any fixture is really good for Tarkowski because he gets defensive contribution points in every single game, it seems like. Not only this season where he's gotten 4 out of 4 defensive contribution points, he's actually gotten 8 points from defensive contributions so far this season, but even previous seasons he's just been a beast when it comes to defensive contributions in total. So he's someone that I'm looking to potentially get as well eventually this season, just because he is such a guarantee for points regardless of what happens really. And I think Everton also will be pretty soon a lot better defensively once they get Brantford back in their defense. I think Tarkowski is going to be super good value, so he's going to be pretty soon in the Wildcard drafts, I imagine. But for now, he's out of it just because they have a tough fixture this week against Liverpool, and I wanted to play 5 defenders, so he drops out for that reason. Foden, I did mention him as a potential replacement for Salah in Game Week 6, and that is still the case. Like, he could be really good. Pep is giving him a lot of praise. He seems to be back at his best. He scored a goal this past game against Man United, which he usually does, scoring against Man United, but he is someone that is a really good player to have. He has also been really good against Brentford historically, which is also an upcoming game for Man City, so I think he is a really good value player. Could really be undervalued, like we saw a couple seasons back when he, 2 seasons back when he had his best season and was player of the season. He was a really good value at 8.0 or close to that price, I think. And now he's back to a pretty cheap price after having a really disappointing last season. But he looks back to his best, and he's one that I'm also considering for sure, especially from Game Week 6 onwards. If I may, Gyökeres, I did mention him already as a potential 3rd striker in this team. It's just I still want to keep an option open to have Isak. That's another reason why I picked Mateta over Gyökeres. Just because I wanted someone with a better fixture in Game Week 5 and someone that could potentially become Isak in Game Week 8 when Liverpool have Man United at home. I think that's going to be a good captaincy choice for Game Week 8 to have Isak against Man United, because I think he's going to start that game and be really good there. So Gyökeres, though, he's one that I did mention. He has been pretty good, but again, like the fixtures thing, or the fixtures is one thing, that they do have 2 tough fixtures now against City and Newcastle, 2 teams that are tough to score against usually. Especially now at Donnarumma, now at City, I think they're going to be even better defensively. But not just the fixtures, the immediate fixtures aren't the best for Gyökeres, but also the fact that he's been subbed off a bit early the past 2 games. Still want some more game weeks to really assess whether I want to wildcard him in or not. But personally, I have him in my own squad, and I'm going to keep him for now. And I've been pretty happy with him so far. I had him captain in Game Week 2, so pretty excited about how that went. And yeah, my season in general has gone pretty well. I think, like you see here, I've actually added some stats above me now with the team, both the team value. It's 99.9 million, so you should be able to afford it. And also the amount of players that I own from the draft, which is what is encouraging for me, at least, because I have 8 out of the 15 players here. So I'm in a really good position myself. I don't need to wildcard, and I'm probably going to wait until Game Week 13 to wildcard. But yeah, in general, pretty excited about most of these players. But I don't think this is the best game week to wildcard, because as you can see, most of these players have tough fixtures in Game Week, or tough matches in Game Week 5. So you could wait for Game Week 6 and get even more information, get some better fixtures, and probably get Salah down to someone else, especially if you have Salah already. And if you have the Aston Villa players like Watkins and Rodgers, they have a decent game against Sunderland. You could wait one more week before you wildcard, in my opinion. So yeah, those are just my final closing thoughts. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it, as always, and I'll see you next time, I guess. So thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.